community. We have just received a major injection of website developers and graphic designers, and I had the pleasure of interviewing them because Session was working on several websites for its own business initiatives and its own main website. And the wealth of knowledge there is just like, it's phenomenal. So because of that, I'm going to talk to Annette about doing a workshop about the importance of having a website. We have some really exciting workshops that are going to be coming up. Not just exciting because I'm going to be hosting them, but we have some ideas that we're going to talk about doing. And also, we're going to be announcing over the next week or so something very important with regard to our app. So just stay tuned and listen out and look out for that exciting news. Please stay engaged and look at our post and understand that we have some really exciting news for all of you. So that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to my co-founder and our COO, Annette Hicks-Gill, to begin this wonderful workshop where we're going to get our financial house in order. I know I need it. So without further ado.
Yes, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Shari Scott, and we actually work together in another organization with youth. And so I saw her do a presentation, and I said, "Wow, Shari, I really, it'd be great for you to come on. It was so good." And so we're going to turn it over to her now, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. And this is going to be an interactive session, so please do get your maybe pads. I mean, you can give the instructions, Shari, of what they need, but definitely this is something that is going to be interesting and you're going to learn a lot. So go ahead, Shari.
Thank you so much, Annette. I appreciate the invitation to share with you ladies today. Thank you, Stephanie, for having me. A little bit about myself. Born and raised Jamaican, moved to New York when I was 25. I've been here about 10 years. My first job, very first job, was an accountant, and I've worked as an accountant over several summers and several years. I was actually, when I was in Jamaica, our foreign account custodian. So I was actually in charge of a US account for one of our largest distribution companies in Jamaica. So that was what I was doing until I moved here. Now my current function is in health insurance administrator. So we're not going to talk about health insurance today, but maybe if I'm allowed to come back, we'll touch that topic at a later date. But just for today, I wanted to start with our thoughts and feelings about money. And if you would allow me, I will start sharing my screen now. That's cool?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. All right, so the title of today's presentation is Where the Money Lies. Now, everybody, what is that song about money? I got to have it, I need money. There's so many songs about money, and money keeps us up at night. Thoughts about money keeps us up at night. Worrying about financing keeps us up at night. And we just wanted to take some time to kind of explore how we feel about that. So I want to start by asking you a few questions. If you're able to, you can share your answers on Facebook, share it in the chat. I'd love to have some feedback. Now it says, when I think of money, I feel, what do you feel when you hear the word money? When you hear the word bills, what comes to mind?
Can I answer? Or it's only for, I didn't see anything in the chat yet. So.
Oh, okay. But no, you could go ahead and answer.
Okay, when I think of money, I feel at this point in my life a little anxious.
Okay, anxious. That's fair. A lot of people feel anxious when they think of money and when they think of bills. When you hear the word bills, what comes to mind? And it's Stephanie.
When I hear the word bills, just going back to when I feel about money in general, I'm like indifferent. It's like I don't care about money that way. But bills stress me out because I'm not the most organized person when it comes to handling my finances. So bills, I'm more stressed about bills than just money in general.
Okay, that's fair. You know, it's a lot of, as soon as you pay one, another one pops up. It's like you can never keep track. And, you know, this one is due on the 10th, that one is due on the 15th. So it does take a lot to get organized and to keep track of everything that is going on in your life. So that definitely will lead to some anxiety and some stress. Now, I don't like talking about money because some people avoid the subject of money altogether. As soon as the topic comes up, they're dodging it, they're hiding, they're changing the subject. Why is that?
Hmm. I don't see it. No answer. Let me make sure they understand. Answer the questions.
Yeah, well, for me, I don't like to talk about money sometimes because people make assumptions, like they looking at your pocket. And I don't like that. I don't like when people assume assuming that you don't have or that you have, or I just feel like some people are, they're doing it to be nosy, to be prying. Not like they want to give me some.
And that's true. There really are some people who really are only interested in, you know, prying in your business. And there's some people, if you allow yourself to have a conversation with them, they might actually be able to share with you what they are doing that's, you know, working for them, that they could suggest that might work for you. You know, I firmly believe in sharing information. I feel a lot of time we're not sharing enough information as we receive it, and sometimes information is there, we don't know how to find it, we don't know how to access it, which is why I started making these presentations in the first place. I wanted to
Hmm.
bring awareness, or better awareness, or greater awareness to this topic, and to help people find the information that they need, so they can make better decisions for themselves. I'm not here to sway you in one way or the other. I'm not telling you to invest with Fidelity. I don't work for Fidelity. That's not my intention. I just want you to know what all your options are. And so you can make an informed decision for yourself.
Hmm.
Now, here's another point. My spouse takes care of everything, so I don't need to know. And this phrase gives me great concern because in my current function, I meet a lot of patients because I work with you know, the sick and ailing. And when we have a financial assistance program for them, and usually when I'm sitting chairside with them and I start to ask, okay, in order to do this application, I need to know what's going on in your finances. Can you tell me, like, what's your grocery bill like? How much is your light bill? What is your mortgage? 7 out of 10 times they don't know. And they don't know because their spouse takes care of everything. And I'd be like, so what happens if your spouse is not available? Like, what if they're out of the country? You can't reach them by phone, you can't reach them by mail. Then what happens? Everything falls apart. You know, so it's important for us to have a working knowledge, even if it's not your job, even if your spouse is the person that you trust to handle all the finances, it doesn't hurt to know what is going on in the
I,
event.
that's the question. Do you find that it's more men or women that that have this? I find it hard to believe that there are women that say, "Oh, I don't know, my spouse takes care of everything." I think it's
Well,
mostly the woman that takes care of everything.
you know what? I wouldn't necessarily put a number on it, but there are times when it's the women that don't know, and sometimes when it's the men that don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, I just, want to share when I lost my husband. I didn't have a clue about anything that, I used to, even though I made significantly more, he handled everything. So it was really hard for me to get on track with that. And I needed help to do those things.
So,
So,
Wow, that's
um,
funny.
yeah, thank you for sharing that, Annette. And you see, that's one main reason to for us to even just have some working knowledge, even if you don't have everything. It's just very important to always be aware. Now, half of my stress is about finances. You know, they always say a lot of marriages end over
Hmm.
money and finances. I don't want to bring up what the other reason is, but we're just looking at money and finances today. Now, what does being rich mean to you?
What does it mean? I'll answer that. What does being rich mean?
Yes.
Or I guess, it's how you define rich. Rich to me means being financially comfortable, where you can maintain the lifestyle that makes you comfortable, that makes you happy, and you're not financially struggling or overwhelmed with work.
Okay, I like that definition. I like the definition. All right, so I'll phrase it this way. If you were to design your rich life to give better context, what would that look like?
Annette, you want to go? Because please, I'll be like on the moon.
When we had the session before, for me, rich is being at peace. It's not even about financial. But I guess if I thought I was rich, I would think to be comfortably rich, I would say I have a net worth of about, I don't know, 5 million. I don't know.
That's a good number. It's the number I have as well. That's so crazy. That's a good number. At this age, anyway.
That's fair. I like it. I respect it. A very, very specific amount. Now, when we talk about money psychology, I asked those questions because I wanted to see how you already feel about money, what your thoughts are, what your feelings are, because that determines what your money psychology is. Now, later, I'll share some quiz opportunities for you to evaluate yourself and kind of see where you fall in terms of your money psychology. So the first one is what we call money worship. Now, as the slide suggests, money worship is someone who really believes money will solve all their problems. Like all they need to do, get that winning lottery ticket, it's gonna fix everything. If I could just have like $1 million, if Oprah would just like drop me a little 1.5, if Bezos would just, gift me 2 mil, I could like sort all of it out. We're also the poor and needy. We could really fix it all. But we could get all that money and end up right back where we started if we don't do the right things. So at the bottom, as it says, you have to take control of your spending and learning about different ways to pay off credit card debt, because people who worship money end up digging themselves into a hole because they want to have money and they want to spend, and they're always spending over what they have because they never believe that they have enough money. Right? So that is the first thought. That's money worship. Now, the second one is money avoidance. Money avoidance, people, who avoid the topic, don't want to talk about it, don't want to think about it. Annette, this might be a little applicable to you. And people who are always giving away money because they don't think they should have it. And they think money is bad. I know we hear all the time, the love of money is the root of all evil, but the emphasis is on the word love. Having money is not a bad thing. What's more important is knowing how to handle the money you have and managing what you have so that you could have more. Because in the Jamaican vernacular, we have this little saying that goes, every little make a muckle, which is essentially saying everything matters. It all adds up, no matter how small.
Can you say that again? Every nickel make a what?
Every little make a muckle.
Love it. Okay.
It means it all adds up. When you think of savings, no matter how small you start, it could always grow. It could always get bigger, right? Now, money avoiders, of course, they don't even want to think about, planning for retirement, emergency fund. They don't think of any of those things because they don't want to. They avoid all things related to money. Now we have your, people who fall in line with money vigilance. Now, these are the people we refer to as a little bit on the frugal side. I will admit that's kind of me. I think it's very important to save They're very secretive about their finances. And, as it says, they're uncomfortable discussing money with others. And, you raised the point, Annette, earlier that sometimes you want to avoid the conversation because people are prying. At the same time, you want to avoid the conversation because you don't want, bad advice. You don't want the wrong information. You don't want people telling you what to do. I know as a millennial, we're not particularly fond of other people telling us what to do. But we also want to learn. We also want to learn, and we want to share with others.
There were some comments here. I didn't realize I had to refresh my screen.
Okay.
But we have Winsome joining us, Shirley Gould joining us. Winsome says because some don't have any. Norma Stacy Roper Webster, thanks for joining us. Norma says maybe stay-at-home women. I guess she's referring to when we said where they don't know about getting to the bills. And then Winsome says again, not worry about bills, and financial planning is the key.
Right. Financial planning is the key. Planning plus what is that phrase? Preparation plus planning meets opportunity is how you get success. So it's all important. It all comes together. Now, another money theory is what we call money status. These are people who believe money means everything. There's this Little Kim song that says first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the respect. And that is a theory or school of thought that there are a lot of people hold through to, that once you have money, you will have power and you will have respect. Now, sure, when you have a lot of money, people will do what you say because they want to stay on your good side. Doesn't necessarily mean they respect you, but they want your money. So they will put up with whatever you do because they want your money. But still, these people are always driven by money. They're always working twice as hard. They want to get all they can all they get, and then sit on the can. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, just to
Wait, I like that. Wait, get all they can,
get all they can,
get, and sit on the can. Love it, love it.
Tell me about it. Under the mattress, people, maybe? Put it on the mattress?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. There's still some people that hide it under the mattress, but there are also people who, hide their money in several different accounts. I don't really want to shout out Sean right now, but she did hide a lot of Shaquille O'Neal's money. Not saying there was anything wrong with that, but
Wow.
yeah, she had a whole account.
Do tell.
I think she had a whole account that he didn't know anything about. But I respect the hustle. I respect the hustle.
That's different. They were married, right?
Yes, they were married.
She had to do what she had to do. Look at what happened.
Exactly. That's why I said I respect the hustle. She was saving her money. She was prepared. They always say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's literally what that looks like.
Preach. That's another workshop.
All right. So to sum it up in like smaller words, it's just money worship. I just need to hit it big. I'm going to share a few stories about that. Then you have money avoidance. I don't want it. You take it. Money vigilance. I can't spend it. I need it. Those are, frugal persons. They're always saving. They don't want to spend on anything. They don't want to spend too much money because they're worried about what will happen next, or, if there's some emergency. They'll always buy cheaper things than spending money on quality things, which will essentially last longer, just because it saves them money now. The goal is always to save money. Now you have the people with money status. Like I said, money equals power and respect. Now, how you feel about money affects all your financial decisions you make as an individual and financial decisions you make as a family. And I say that because there are two individuals in a relationship. Now, it's great if both people are savers. Conflict comes up when one person is a saver and one person is a spender. But that's where, discussions happen and you have to meet somewhere in the middle. Now, to the right of my screen, I have some websites, some webpage links just for you to utilize so you could take the quiz available and kind of see where you fall in money psychology. I will share that after a presentation, and you could share it to the Facebook page if that works, Stephanie.
Actually, why don't you create a post since you're in our group? Create a post and share this information, you know, with
She
the
actually
the
is
group.
not on Facebook. She joined via
Oh.
our website. So,
Oh, okay. And Annette, so let's go ahead and share it. Annette, can you share it in the chat in Facebook?
well, I
While
would
we,
need Shari to share it. Can you share it in our chat, in the Zoom chat?
Yes, I will.
And then I'll share it. Yeah.
there's some comments here. We got Carol joining us. She says, having money helps to relieve stress, exclamation point. And Michelle says, what? Question. I don't know what that's about, Michelle. You have to make it clear. What's the what? What about? Winston says, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And so I don't know, they're excited about this money discussion here.
All right. So I shared the links in the chat. Let me close this out. So you should be able to create the post from here. You can see it, right?
We can see
Okay.
it. Annette can go ahead and because she's probably has them both on one device. I have my cell with the Facebook Live
Okay.
and the
I
laptop separate.
already posted them.
Okay, great.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
True story, huh? This looks exciting. Go ahead.
True story. So, and I posted the link at the bottom, which I'll share in the chat also. So, wait, I'll have to copy and paste that. I'll send that over another time. Now, true story, William Budd Post the third. Now, if you were to Google this name, you'll see a couple posts about this man who won the lottery back in 1988. Now, the bullet point says he won $16.2 million from the Pennsylvania lottery in 1980. Now, think about it, 1988, $16 million.
That was a lot of money back then.
So much money. So much money back then, right? Now, when he won it, the day he bought his ticket, he literally pawned something, gave the money to a friend to buy the ticket. And like it says, he literally only had $2.46 to his name.
When he won.
He won. Now, this would be where money worship comes in, because like, oh, I just need to hit it big. Just, hit the lottery and everything will be fine. Now, I'm going to show you how things come back full circle and why preparation and planning is so important. Now, William won his money, of course. When you win big, everybody comes out the woodwork, people you haven't spoken to in years, possibly decades, high school friends you didn't even really know you had. Everybody came to him asking for money. On top of everything else, he bought 2 houses, he bought a plane, he bought a restaurant for his siblings, he bought a boat, and the person who he gave the money to buy the ticket also sued him, and he had to give her money as well. But it came right back around, and he ended up right where he started. He lost everything literally within about 10 years.
How did he do that? Are you going to tell us?
Right. So he's all those things he bought, the sailboat, the mansion, the restaurant, the plane. He didn't have a pilot's license, but he bought a plane.
Wow.
So he bought a plane, a restaurant, a sailboat, 2 houses. Of course, he gave money to his siblings, gave money to everybody else who asked, and then he was tied up in court with the person who bought the ticket because she sued him. So she got a part of the settlement. And when all was said and done, he ended up right back where he started, back on his Social Security disability checks.
No way.
With $600 and something in his bank account. Now, he died in 2006 of respiratory failure. Of course. I mean, it's plausible, right? He went through all of that and ended up right back where he started. Now, that's what money worship looks like. You think if you have all this money, it'll solve all your problems. But if you are not prepared, if you don't have a plan, you full circle, it'll come right back and you'd end up right back where you started.
Mm, that's so sad.
It is. The next story is a little sadder. Now, even more sad than the last. Abraham Shakespeare. Now, this name you might have seen in the news lately because I think it was 2016, 2017 when his case came up again because he was missing. And eventually, the person who killed him was taken to trial. And I think she's officially serving life in prison now. Now, I don't want to focus so much on the fact that the person who was supposed to be helping him, quote unquote, his money manager killed him. Let's not that's not what I want us to focus on. Now, Abraham won $30 million in the lottery jackpot in Florida. Now, you know,
Mm,
when you take the lump sum payout between the taxes and all the fees, you get a lot less than you would have gotten if you had taken the payment plan. So in his lump sum payout, he got $17 million. Now, Abraham's spending was a little more strategic, right? He buys a house, of course, you know, being in poverty, not having much, first thing he does is buy a house, buys a house for him.
mm,
Makes sense. Reasonable spending, right? You want to live good. You want to make sure your family is secure. Then he
yes.
creates a trust fund for his son, puts $1 million there. Again, solid decision, you know, preparing for his son's future, generational wealth. All right. I'm all for generational wealth. Then that's where the problem starts. Again, like I suggested, everybody, and I mean everybody in the neighborhood, all his friends, all his family members, people he didn't even know were coming up to him and asking him for money. The the running joke was Bank of Shakespeare. So essentially, anybody who had any kind of need was coming to him to ask him for money. There was this associate that he had that he lent $80,000 to.
Mm,
They were just associates. They used to work together. And eventually he met this woman who claimed she wanted to do a story on him. And she basically finagled him out of all his money. I don't know how she got him to agree and how she got him to sign all this paperwork, but she basically took over all his assets. And the sad part is she did it in such a way where she tried to convince him that she would be collecting on all the money that he was owed because so many people had taken money from him. But
mm.
short end of the story is that she took everything and she killed him.
She actually killed him, like murder?
Yeah.
Shoot. Hmm. Oh, well, there's some comments here. Ladies who are married have joint savings, but also establish your own. That's Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Winston said, I remember him. I think that was with regard to the last millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michelle says he needed a financial planner. And Carol says lack of proper planning. And Vajra, welcome Vajra to session now, says, wow.
Yes, it is. It's definitely a wow moment. It's sad, but I also wanted to bring awareness to these stories because Abraham trusted somebody who wasn't an actual financial advisor or financial planner. This is just a woman he met and he thought she was handling her money well, so he trusted her with his. Lo and behold, when the truth came out, she was a scammer, so she has a whole history that I don't want to touch on, but still, he didn't connect with the right people to help him manage his money. Now, a better example.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just go ahead. I'm gonna let you say, but I have something to say about that. He didn't connect with the right people, but
No, I want to hear your comment before.
who's the right people? Like when you become a millionaire, everyone wants to help you manage your money. So that's a issue right there. Who do you trust? Yes, he had to trust someone, and I guess he believed the lady, but so I guess you're going to answer that question like, where do you go? Who do you trust? Because you really can't trust anyone. Right, go ahead.
Right. No, that is a good question. That is a good question. Now, this is where having a CFP or FP or CFA would be truly beneficial for you. A financial advisor. Now, a financial advisor is not just for the wealthy. And the primary question to ask is if they are fiduciary. If they're fiduciary, that means they work for you. If they are not, then it puts them in a precarious position to advise you to select particular investments because they have ties or relationships with these institutions.
Mm. You hear that, my millionaire sestras? Be careful.
Now, so we're gonna play a little game, true or false. Now, first question, you have to be over the age of 50 to get AARP.
I'm gonna say
Anybody?
true.
Anybody in the chat? Let's see if anybody
The
in the
chat
chat.
is a little delayed, so we can
Yeah.
just slow down a little bit. It's a little bit
Oh.
behind.
I say yes. I'm over 50, but I don't want to claim it yet. They keep sending me invites every month, and I'm like, stop sending me these emails. I'm good. I don't want no discounts. I don't want no reduced meals and restaurant. I'm good.
Why not?
I don't want it.
I'm almost there. I'm not there yet, but I'm like, bring it on. I'll be like, yes.
Okay,
Sign me
so
up. Sign me up.
you can, Annette. You could sign up now if you want. Membership is only $13. You don't have to be 50 to be a member of AARP. I have a friend who's maybe a year older than me, and her mom put her on AARP from she was like 21, and she's had her membership this whole time. You don't have to be 50 to sign up for AARP. That's just the membership. Now, the AARP Medicare Supplementary Plan, you have to be at least 55 to sign up for that, but that's the medical insurance plan. Regular AARP membership is not limited. And of
You could
course,
be 20.
yeah, there's no age limit on it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Why they keep bothering me?
That's why they be bothering you.
Okay, so we have Stephanie. We have to refresh often because our chat is very interactive. Michelle
Okay, I
said-
have someone. Oh, you're gonna go ahead.
you go ahead. You go ahead.
Stephanie claim and get your benefits. And then Michelle says, I have AARP, love them. And Winston says no. And Carol said it used to be 55. And Shirley Gould said, be thankful, made it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a blessing to make the age of 50. I mean, even making it past 30, we're older than Biggie, Tupac, Jesus. You know what I mean? We've outlived a number of people. We've
Mm-hmm.
outlived a number of people, a lot of people. So it's a blessing to still be here. Own it, claim it. There's nothing wrong. There's discounts on sneakers, prescriptions, gym membership, movies, restaurant, hotel reservations, car rentals. Like the discounts are kind of endless.
Vajra says that's good to know. And Shirley says 55 to sign up for medical. Okay.
Right. So the medical insurance, that's whether that's the Medicare Advantage plan or the Medicare Supplementary plan, you have to be 55 to sign up for that, which is also managed by United Healthcare, which we can, touch on a later date. But that's where the age requirement starts. Now, number 2, you should never ever cancel your credit cards.
I'm gonna say false.
That would be correct. And I know this is surprising, but it is one of those things that we hear all the time. That's not true. Now, we know a portion of your credit score, right, is allocated to length of history and, payment and the amount of credit line available. Now, if you have 4 or 5 credit cards, you have a credit card from, let's say, 2006, and it has about 10,000, and a credit card from 2008, a credit card from 2015, and a credit card you got last year. The credit card you can cancel without it really affecting your credit score is the one you got last year, because it doesn't affect the average mix of the credit cards that you already have. Because your first credit card was from 2000 and let's say 5. So that's at least more than 15 years of credit history. So it won't affect that portion of your credit score. So for the newer cards, those you can cancel without it really being to the detriment of your credit score.
So Sylvia Simpson Gordon, thanks for joining us. Sylvia says false, and Vajra says cancel them. LOL, false.
Yes, yes, you can. And of course, it goes a little further. There are people who don't believe you should have credit cards at all. Personally, I think that is truly up to you. If you have it, I want to say manage it. If you have several, I want to encourage you to cut a few. Or if you can't control your spending, just shred it, hide it from yourself. I don't know, but figure out new ways to manage your existing credit card debt. Now, a soft inquiry does not affect your credit score.
So often credit don't affect your credit
I'm
score.
gonna say that's false.
That is actually true. That is true. A soft
That's what they always tell you when you go for stuff. They'll be like, it's a soft, you don't have to worry about it.
soft inquiry doesn't affect your credit score. A hard inquiry does, because it pulls all, like a truly detailed credit history, and it pulls everything. And it's pulling from all three credit reporting places. You can run a free credit score for yourself if you want to know exactly what your credit score report will look like. And
Can you just say, how can you just let me know how you can find that, and I'll put it in the chat.
Yes, I think it's free annual credit report, and you're allowed to generally get one free. So you can pull one free credit report annually for yourself, and it won't affect your credit score. So you can see everything that's there, every open account, every closed account, what outstanding balances you have. If there's anything on your report that looks incorrect, you could follow up with the credit report agency to have it corrected.
Yeah, so we had 3 trues and 1 false, and then Norma says, interesting, myth debunked, right? Credit card cancellation.
Yes, it's one of those, infamous myths.
So someone has a question. Roger says, so is a soft pull strictly creditors checking your credit score only?
Usually, yes. Because somebody asking for your credit report, it depends. There are people who, well, now they ask for your credit report when you're renting. That's new. They didn't used to do that before. When you're going for any kind of loan, of course, they're pulling your credit report. There's some jobs which feels a little unethical, but there's some jobs that are actually, they want to see your credit report as well. If it's a federal job, that makes sense. They want to be able to trust you. It adds up to
With the money.
clearance, your potential for committing fraud. I could understand that as it relates to jobs, but banking institutions, you're going for any kind of loan, credit card,
Insurance companies do it too.
insurance companies.
Before you put, because you're handling their money, paying claims, so they want to make sure you don't pay yourself.
Exactly. Embezzlement. There's a lot of that going around.
Yeah.
Bernie Madoff was sufficient example.
So one of the questions is, so what about getting credit report from your bank?
Well, you could do that. They might not give it to you free, but why do that when you can do it yourself?
Okay.
And you could have the printout accessible to you all the time. If you get a copy on your phone, you could have a printout. So if someone asks you for it, you already have it, and they won't need to run your credit because you already have your credit report available. Now, what I learned from my personal experience, when I went to get my car, they ran my credit report, and they ran it twice. And that cost me over 10 points, more like 20 points on my credit score, because it was a hard inquiry, which of course, when you go to the dealership, they're running it for the benefit of the banks that they have relationships with.
Yes.
Costs you more in terms of a higher interest rate versus you doing it yourself and going through the credit union. Credit union will always give you lower interest rates when it comes to loans.
I have some questions here. I get it free from my bank online. Sylvia says, Shirley says, when you want to combine your credit, which bank is it safe to do it with? Savings bank or commercial bank?
When you say combined credit, what do you mean in terms of consolidating
When you
debt?
want to combine your credit, which is, I don't know exactly what she means. Shirley, what do you mean, Shirley? So let's go on to Winston and then we can come back if Shirley clarifies that in the chat. Credit cards, she says, if you want to
Okay.
combine your credit cards, like I
Okay.
guess she means consolidate.
Okay, all right. So if you're looking to consolidate your credit card debt, when it comes to loans, I always encourage people to go to credit unions. Credit unions will always give you lower interest rate than commercial or savings bank. And they do offer debt consolidation. Once you have your membership, you could always get a loan. Interest rates are definitely lower. On the other side, there are some credit cards that do offer balance transfer where there's a 0% interest rate for a certain amount of months. So let's say you have 2,000 on a Capital One card. Instead of taking a debt consolidation, you have the option of transferring that 2,000 to a Discover card at 0% interest for about 18 months. So all you have to do is pay off that balance within the 18 months and you will accrue no additional interest.
Yeah. Winston says, any jobs dealing with money, check your credit, and they usually bond you.
And by bond, I'm assuming that means that you have to stay a number of years before you can leave.
Oh, Carol is thanking us. She says, thanks to Sestra Now and the finance team and the strategies they suggested since its inception. Mine is now at the top. So grateful for this Sestrahood. You're welcome, Carol. We love you, Sestra. Go ahead. Please continue. We can go
No,
on and on with you. This is good stuff.
I'm sorry. I feel like there was a question I missed.
And I just want to say,
Go ahead.
I know that I'm the time checker, so I'm the timekeeper, but this was supposed to be done by 7:30. So I'm going to ask permission for our sestras to let us continue. I guess until we can go up until 8. To in an hour because it's really great information. And
Like
we have
I
so
said,
much
I
interaction.
told you that. But go ahead. Anyway, I'm gonna sip my tea.
I promise I'm almost done. I just have I have one more slide after this. We're wrapping it up, guys. I promise. Now, I had mentioned financial advisors are not just for the wealthy. There are a lot of financial advising. There's Merrill, I think it's called Merrill, that financial company associated with Bank of America. There is Fidelity. A lot of banks have their JP Morgan and Chase. A lot of banks have their own financial planning and financial advising firm associated with them. And you'd be surprised to know you could get a financial advisor for about $500 with a 1-year contract. They could go sit down with you, go through all your finances, make plans, make preparations, make recommendations of how you can manage your money and how to better prepare and save for your retirement. Now you could pay the $500 up front, or you can make a monthly deduction that worked out to maybe $45 per month. Sounds kind of cheap, right? Doesn't sound too bad. And you could keep them for the year if you decide to renew their contract or keep them on longer. You could always renew your contract with your financial advisor, but it is an option that you have. So financial advising is not just for wealthy people, and it's not as crazy expensive as you might think. All right, because I actually have one. And I've learned some stuff from my financial advisor, and I wanted to share some of the things that I've actually learned from him. Now, next point, home ownership is always better than renting. Now, we know home ownership, big part of the American dream, but it isn't always best for everyone. So
why do you say that? Oh, are we going to answer true or false?
Yes.
What does everyone think?
I used to think that would be false, but now I think it's true because it depends on your situation. Because, you know, depending on your budget, because home ownership, there's a lot of liability and stuff like that. You have to repair, you have to pay taxes, you have to do all these things. And so it depends on you, on what your situation is.
And where you
might be-
live too.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that if you have a financial plan, you could probably take your money and invest it other ways instead of in real estate, even though real estate is a pretty solid investment, but people choose to take their money and invest it in other ways. And that it can probably grow better than real estate, I would imagine.
True. What do you say?
And you're right on all accounts, based on everything that you just shared. Of course, owning a home, you know, solid asset, it could last you for a long time. That's why it's referred to as a long-term asset. Yes, it appreciates in value. You might always have it, but there's also, you know, flooding, hurricanes, things happen, right? And you could end up losing said asset. Now, I bring up home ownership because there is a new phrase that is coined called being house broke.
Mm. We had some comments. Norma says false. Carol said false. Eugenia Hill, thanks for joining us, Eugenia, says home ownership better, you're building wealth.
Right. It does. It does for some people. Of course, if you're looking along the lines of generational wealth. Now, this phrase is a trick question because it can be true for some and false
Yes.
for some. Because of course, you could pass down the house to your kids. Precariously, I met someone doing another presentation and she was like, you know, she wanted the house is paid off. She wanted to give it to her kids, but the kids don't want it. What happens when you're doing this for generational wealth and they want nothing to do with it? They end up, of course, selling the
Selling it.
house and splitting the money, right? So it still boils down to, you know, what is best for you at that moment. Now, being house poor just basically means that all, or at least up to 50%, maybe more of your money goes into the maintenance and expenses allocated or associated with the house, from maintenance to repairs to bills, light, you know, taxes, insurance, flood insurance, mortgage. Like if most of your money is going just into the house, then technically your house broke. No, where you won't have money to do anything else. And for some people, that's why, you know, renting is better. They're just paying that one maintenance fee. It might be lower. It allows them, like Annette said, to invest their money in other ways for it to grow for long-term benefit for them. So it varies from person to person.
I have some comments and questions here. Michelle says, I was told insurance is a solid investment.
In life insurance.
She didn't say, she just said she was told insurance. Winston says a lot of bills associated with the home, exclamation points. Vajra says false. Home ownership can be more pressing on someone's finances and not ideal for those who are unprepared. And Michelle says home ownership for generational wealth. And then Shirley has a question, is rent to own a good deal?
That is a fair question. It's still somewhat of a new concept to me. I've only heard about it since I've moved here. I don't know anyone who's actually done it, but if it is an option, I say, sure, go ahead, explore it. If it has some strong cost benefit and saving opportunity for you, then it's worth exploring. It doesn't hurt, but make sure you have all of your information before you do, and always get a second opinion. Yes.
I definitely want to speak on the rent to own, but I want to say Michelle said life insurance is a
Life
good
insurance.
investment. She
It
meant life
is.
insurance.
It is depending on which one you have. There's term and then there's whole life. There's one that you could, which doubles as a actual investment and you could actually pull money from, and the other one that is literally just a life insurance policy and you could only get death benefits from it. The one that works or that doubles as a actual investment plan is whole.
Okay, that's another workshop. We've done it before, but we can do it again, life insurance investment. But I want to speak to rent to own is that a good deal as an attorney in New York and also as a real estate broker in the city of New York. You get these promotions. I just want to put a warning out there to people wherever you are, whenever you see that rent to own, a good bit of it scams. Okay, so be very mindful when you see that. And sometimes people are doing that to just take money from you, and it's not really a situation where you can actually own a house, a benefit. There's big scams going on in that arena. So check with your sisters and the leadership here whenever you face any of these opportunities. And a lot of these questions that are here, we have the resources to answer them for you. So always check with leadership and session now, because that's what we're here for. But let me let you go back.
Right. So thank you for clarifying that for me, Stephanie, because that one I definitely honestly wasn't sure about. But when it comes to life insurance, yes, a term life insurance policy is literally just that, just life insurance. But whole life insurance does double as an investment plan that you could actually pull money from while you still have it.
There's some comments. Michelle says whole life, she was asking about. Yes, life insurance, whole life. And Winston says adjustable life is very flexible. And Carol says it's called option to buy, where a portion of your rent goes toward the down payment. However, it's important to work with an attorney to review the contract. To my point, right, Carol? Because a lot of these things, my experience in New York, they were scams, and I didn't even know that was going on. But I discovered it from clients that was going on. But please proceed.
Yeah, they're literally scams related to everything.
Yes.
Which is a whole different presentation for,
yes.
for another time. Last point, only retired people get Medicare.
Only retired people get Medicare.
I'm gonna say maybe disabled people get it.
Yes, that would be correct. People who are on Social Security disability benefits get automatically enrolled in Medicare 2 years after they start receiving their Social Security disability benefit.
And there are two comments on the rent to own situation. Eugenia Hill says, well, if it's rent to own, shouldn't they have a legal contract signed by an attorney? The thing is, they don't. They like, I'm going to just answer that since you said you don't have knowledge about that. What they do is they just put it out there as an option. If you're looking for an apartment, they'll put it out there as an option to make you go with them instead. And in the meantime, it's not really to the benefit like you think it is to your benefit. Vajra says, even rent to own can be done and completed with a legitimate realtor or attorney. I don't recommend working with the individual for rent to own. Yes, true. Be careful.
All right. Thank you. Thank you everyone sharing their comments on the rent to own. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for shedding some light on that. Now, here's my final slide, just some additional information for you to have. Now, in terms of reviewing your existing money trends. Now, NerdWallet is a really cool app, which I use myself. It can track your spending. It'll show you your credit score. It'll send you a notification whenever your credit score changes. It'll show you your credit history, your entire credit line, all the assets that you have, your net worth, what you owe, and you'll see the changes and you'll see the progression, because there's also a graph that shows you how your credit score is growing, or if it's dipping, or if it has just plateaued. So it's one of those free apps that you could use to manage and monitor your credit score, and also check your spending. So you can see exactly where your money is going if you connect it to your bank account. It'll categorize like what you're spending in subscriptions. It'll identify, okay, you pay this light bill every month. What do you want to do about it? You're paying this every month. Do you want to set it to auto pay? It'll make those recommendations for you. Now, based on the stories I shared earlier about Abraham Shakespeare and Mr. Bud, there are these two documentaries on money on Netflix. If you do have Netflix, I encourage you to check it out. It'll have definitely give you some additional information and some additional pointers as it relates to money management. One of them is called How to Get Rich with Ramit.
Mm.
If you haven't seen it already, you could definitely look it up. And another one is called Get Smart with Money. Now, Ramit also has a podcast if you prefer listening to podcasts. I know it's on Spotify. I don't really use Apple, so I'm not sure if it's available on that streaming platform, but I know for sure that it's on Spotify. And most bank apps now do have a spend tracker option in there as well. So you could categorize your expenses, see where all your money is going. So I encourage you, if you weren't doing it before, try to review your bank accounts at least once a week, maybe twice a week if possible. So you could see like where your money is going, but also very quickly identify if anybody is scamming your account, if any kind of fraud is taking place. It was through consistent follow-up that I was able to identify that somebody had actually done some unauthorized transaction in my bank account. I was able to call the bank right away and get it taken care of. If I wasn't paying attention and I hadn't noticed when it happened, because I literally noticed within the week that it happened. And you know, they always start like really small, like $1 or two, because you're like, you're not gonna miss it. You're not gonna notice. Who notices $1 missing from their account? And of course, until it gradually becomes a higher and higher amount, right? And also, if you do have credit card, review your credit card statement. That's how I also found that somebody else tapped into my credit card and paid for something that I didn't know anything about, which of course I had to call the bank and have that credit card canceled and get a new one, right? So you have to pay attention to your accounts, review
And
them.
there's a time limit on that. I just want to jump in there. Sometimes you have a certain contracts you enter into or certain transactions you enter into, you have 2 days, 3 days to cancel. So that's why it's important if you're engaging with other businesses or doing any type of transaction, it's important, as she's saying, to really stay on top of it. It's a major story that happened to one of our sisters this week with, she thought she was buying something for $9.99 and they said, no, it was $9,999. And it actually took the money and then told her, no, this was our discussion. So that's a whole nother workshop, but contracts are important and run it by us before you do anything major. Go ahead.
That's wow.
Yep.
Wow. Now, like I said, most bank apps now have spend trackers and credit score trackers. If you don't want to use NerdWallet, more than likely, I know Bank of America has it, Chase has it. I know Navy Federal has it. American Airlines credit unions, not so much, but those banks definitely have that spend tracker and credit score tracker. So you just have to sign up for it and they'll send you emails and text messages if you want, so you can see what's going on with your credit score consistently. Now, if you want to take a safer route, you could set balance limit and purchase limits in your bank account. It just goes in the notification section of your account. So you could set a limit that says if there's ever a purchase of over $250, you'll get a notification of it. Therefore, if it's not you, you can get flagged on it real quick and respond accordingly. Now, also, if you want to keep track of your spending, you could set a balance limit on your account so that you make sure at any given point that you don't have less than $200 in your checking or savings account. Once it hits that threshold, you get a text message saying, okay, you have less than $200 in your account now, or this transaction is putting you over. So you know if you're at risk for overdraft fees, and you could make the necessary corrections, whether it is to make a deposit, move some money around, to make sure that you don't get hit with that overdraft fee. Bank of America overdraft fee is $35. I don't know what other banks are.
$36 I've seen. It's really ridiculous.
Oh, that means it was $35 last year. That means it went up.
Yeah, some of them like as much as 36, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and wrap this up.
And there's a
Um,
book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. If you are
Yeah.
enough reading, that'll definitely give you some additional tips on money management. So that is everything I have for you, my lovely folks. That is the end of my presentation.
Why don't you tell us about your services? Do you offer any type of services to our community? Can you offer them help with any of this?
Sure. I haven't started that as yet. It's so funny you ask, because Annette actually had this conversation with me today.
All
About
right.
Yeah,
provide-
so I just wanted to point out, as she stated before, she's just very knowledgeable and she likes to share. And so we were talking about, I was explaining to her how so many of our sestras, you know, they have a passion that turns into a business. And so I think that you're talented, you're very knowledgeable, you have the financial, you know, the accounting background. So for sure, you know, but this is what we do with Workshop Wednesdays. We've shifted to having people presenting and then also promoting their business. But, you know, there's always this educational component, and this was just so amazing. And we're
Yes.
so pleased to have had you, and thank you so much. And welcome to our sisterhood.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, welcome all of you, and thanks for hanging in there, everyone.
Yes, yes. So good night, everyone.
Okay, we're gonna say good night, and we're gonna thank Shari. She'll join us another time for part 2.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, Sestras.